I'm here to tell you the story of Samson. Now, for those of you who are familiar with him, I'm not surprised. He lived a very full life, although perhaps not quite as long as he might have liked. And in fact, the story I'm telling today is of just that, the end of Samson's life. But before we get to the end, let's start in the beginning, for those of you who perhaps don't recall or aren't familiar with Samson. Now, he was born, of course, to a man and a woman, a husband and a wife, and they were Israelites, living in a time and place where they were under the control of the Philistines. Now, the Israelites and the Philistines, they did not like each other very much. They were enemies, truth be told. During this time, in this place, his husband and wife were a family, and as a family, they wanted to have children. But no matter how many times they tried, they couldn't. It seems as though they were barren. And yet, one night, in fact, an angel appeared to the wife, and it predicted that they would indeed have a child, and that this child would lead the Israelites from the Philistines. But his hair was not to be cut. Now, this husband and wife, they in fact did end up having a child, a little baby boy, and they named him Samson. Now, there's something very peculiar about Samson. He was strong, very strong. In fact, so strong he could overpower 1,000 men in a single evening. And there are many and various stories of Samson, particularly in his fight against the Philistines. And one day, Samson fell in love. He fell in love with this woman named Delilah, but there was a problem. This Delilah was a Philistine, one of the enemies of the Israelites. But love is love, and Samson was deeply in love. And once word of this coupling started to reach far and wide, some of the Philistine rulers heard of it. And when they heard of this match, they got an idea. They went, this Delilah, one of us, one of the Philistines. She's close to Samson. Perhaps she will know some sort of secret, some weakness, some undoing to Samson. Delilah was able to do Samson, but perhaps wealth could seduce Delilah. And so they sent for Delilah. And once she was in the company of all the conspirators and they told her the plot, each one of them offered her an entire bag of silver. And so Delilah took the money and she ran back home to Samson. And she asked him, she said, Samson, what is the source of your great strength? How could you be overpowered? How might you be subdued? And so Samson told her. Samson told Delilah, you know, if anyone were to tie me up with fresh bowstring, then my strength would leave me, and I would become just like anyone else. Delilah seems not quite as smitten as we were led to believe, but Delilah didn't know any better. She went off to the conspirators, told her the news that Samson had relayed, and the conspirators produced some bowstring, gave it to Delilah, and instructed her to tie up Samson while he's asleep, and they would take care of the rest. That's exactly what she did. She went back home at night, tied Samson up, and as Philistines burst into the room, Delilah shouted out. She said, Samson, the Philistines are upon you! Samson woke up, and he snapped the bowstring like it was thread, and he escaped into the night. The secret of his great strength, it turns out, was not yet discovered. And the next day, when Samson told Delilah the news, Delilah got angry with him. She said, Samson, you lied to me if what you said is true. Tell me, what is the source of your great strength then? How could you be overpowered? And Samson told her. He said, Delilah, it's true. I lied about the bowstring, but the truth is it's rope. Fresh rope. If someone were to tie me up with that, then my strength would leave me. So, Delilah took the news. She went to the conspirators, told them about the confusion, and when she got fresh rope, it was the same plan as before. She tied up Samson. As she left, Philistines burst into the room. Delilah shouted out again, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" And Samson once again snapped the rope and escaped. And now, the next day, Delilah is angrier than ever. She marches up to Samson. "Samson, how can you say you love me when you lie to me like this? Tell me truly, what is the source of your great strength?" So Samson told her. Samson said, "I'm sorry I keep lying to you, but the truth is, if you were to make my hair as if it were cloth, if you were to attach it into a loom, then my strength would leave me." Samson is a clever one with a sense of humor, but Delilah didn't know any better. She took the news, went to the conspirators. The conspirators gave her a loom, and that night carefully, Delilah wove Samson's hair into the loom, made it as if it were cloth. And just like before, Philistines burst into the room. Samson pulled the pin from the loom and escaped. His secret still was concealed, but now Delilah is angrier than ever before. She marches up to Samson and says, "Samson, how dare you lie to me like this?" Day after day, night after night, week after week, minute after minute at times, Delilah poked and prodded and begged, pleaded with Samson to reveal to Delilah his secret. And finally, one day, Samson snapped. He said, "Delilah, you would like to know the source of my strength, would you? Well, the truth is, no one has ever cut my hair. If someone were to cut my hair, then my strength would leave me, and I'd be just like anyone else." Samson told the truth. And once Delilah had discovered that all he said was true, she went and got a razor. And that night, as Samson was asleep, she began to shave Samson's hair. And then Samson's strength left him. He became just like anyone else, and this time when the Philistines entered the room, they tackled him to the ground. They tied up his hands, they plucked out his eyes, and sent him to prison to grind grain. And now, the Philistines are feeling pretty good. They had just captured and subdued one of their greatest enemies, and so they threw a party. They gathered around, thousands of Philistines gathered into a temple. There was song and dance, eating and drinking, and one of them had an idea. He said, "Hey, where is Samson anyway? He's the reason for this party, is he not? Let's bring him in for some entertainment. Maybe we could honor him." And so, they fetched Samson. When Samson entered the temple, blinded of course, and he was led amongst the pillars, and he reached out to feel for one of the pillars, his left hand to the left pillar, right to the right. And he prayed a final prayer to God. He said, "Lord my God, this one last time, grant me the strength to take revenge on the Philistines for my own 2 eyes." And with a shout and a shove, he cried, "Let me die with the Philistines!" And he toppled the pillars, and the temple collapsed. And it seemed that the party for all the Philistines in attendance came to an abrupt end, and, well, Samson along with them. And even though the end of the story is fast, every time I hear it, and I've heard this story ever since I was a child, and as I continue to hear it, it starts to mean something new. Now I'm lucky enough to tell the story myself, so next time you hear this story, consider well what we might be able to learn from the life of Samson. Thank you.